must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Conflicts in Africa have become the daily occurrence. Daily occurrences in many countries, in the sense that almost every African country, apart from the few, there is tension. One wonders where this tension at times comes from. Some of it comes from elections, a manufactured election, a disputed election results. Some come from territory. Some are terrorist-based, like that of Somalia and Boko Haram. Some are because of regime change, purely sponsored by external forces. But 95 to 96% of conflicts in Africa occur through the sponsorship of external darker forces that would like to benefit out of the spoils of war. George Soros stands as one person who has always been and will always be and shall be until the end, a man who sponsors any type of chaos, who does not follow which type of chaos he is sponsoring, as long as it is chaos that can topple a person he hates in Africa. Many African countries are undergoing this pressure, this tension, especially those that are conducting elections and whose timetable for elections seem to be coming in the near future. As a result of that, Africa stands warned, and Africa must stand on alert about the external forces that want to dismember this continent and create heavens of war, create insecurity, create mirage peace that Africans have fought after 66 years of gaining political independence. It is therefore my submission that most African countries, if they don't look at what George Soros is doing, we might have a shocker one morning, one by one African country being pushed out and the leaders being pushed out of power. The events therefore in South Africa, as proved from these detailed undercover operations, they prove that George Soros indeed has a say in South African politics. And therefore, we want to urge Africans and African heads of state and their military and intelligence systems to be careful and watch on the amount of money that is being pumped into their economies, because some of the money could be George Soros money that will end up to bring public disorder in most of the African countries. Thank you very much, viewers. Wherever you are in the world, thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television. Thank you very much, viewers, wherever how you were, how COVID is treating you. We have to push on with the work of talking about Africa, engaging the people on the question of Africa. What do we do? The conflicts in Africa. What has happened in Africa in most places, in Libya, for example. This show is Frontline Africa show. It's a security show purely for senior intelligence officers around Africa to listen to. You can pick one or two things from this show. We bring out facts. We look at the conflicts. We go to African places and find out what causes these conflicts. Today, I am honored that I will deliver the first keynote. In the next 2 hours, Miriam will conduct us through after I've given the keynote speech, not even a keynote speech, opening remarks. The question on the table today with our panel, the panel is myself. I will surrender the powers of moderation to Miriam Ogutu, our senior anchor and researcher. Good morning, Miriam.
A very good morning to you, Doctor, there from the Political Command Center.
Thank you very much. Then we have our investigative journalist, Daniel Wesonga, on the panel. Then all the way to Meru, in the land of the mountains of Meru, where Mira is grown, is none other than retired Major Bijiwe. Good morning, Major Bijiwe. You are watching us. We can't see you, but you are seeing us. You will speak because of your network. Good morning, Major retired Bijiwe, a security consultant. A man who can...
Dr.
Thank you very much.
And good morning to all the fellow panelists, Brother Daniel Wetsonga, my sister Miriam, the doctor himself, the father of Pan-Africanism in Africa, Dr. Matsanga, the legendary. I salute all of you. I'm here from Meru County. After this show, I'm going to bring all of you a bunch of Mira. And don't tell me about, COVID-19 or what. You're going to chew Mira tonight.
Oh my God. I don't know how it is chewed, but I will try to chew the Mira.
Me and you
but
both.
Thank you very much, our senior consultant, Major retired security consultant, Bijiwe. This show touches Kenya, the regional, then Africa. Now that Kenya is in the Security Council, and believe me or not, we see how we fit in the program so well. We have to make sure that President Uhuru Kenyatta delivers in the Security Council. And I believe his handlers will be very interested on these points that we are going to raise on this part. Because some of us started a long time on the question of Libya. We didn't start yesterday. We started a long time. We talked about it when before the war started. So it is very important for the docket in the foreign affairs, those who listen on our points, to take note. Because there are some people who don't know how Libya ended up here. We are going to bring that history right now. Thank you very much, viewers. Resolution 1970 of the United Nations Security Council allowed, supported by several countries, including several of them that abstained. The notable abstainees of this on this resolution were: 1, Germany with abstained, Brazil abstained. South Africa endorsed the bombing of Libya. A resolution supported by France. The French supported that resolution. Americans were in catch-22, Obama. The trousers in the knees and up in the belly and up in the foot. They were not decided. Cameroon of Britain not decided whether to back or not to back, but said they will keep support, not directly. Russia abstained. China abstained. The resolution was, however, carried. Resolution 1970 was carried to kill Gaddafi, to dismember Libya, to bring Libya to where it is today. While events were taking place in the UN Security Council, the African Union, headed by Dr. Jean Ping, another French colonized French mind, heading the AU African Commission, organized a state-managed deportation and arrest of African heads of state, including President Museveni, President Jacob Juma of, thank you very much. And I want to thank my researchers for bringing out all these facts. Great things happen in FRONTLINE. That is the way to go. That's the resolution that dismembered Libya. When we moved under the plane of 5 heads of state, including Moses Wetangula, who was supposed to go to Mali in Bamako, to go and persuade the Libyan leader to come in a plane and leave Tripoli. Dr. Jean Ping, a Gabonian from Gabon, a French DSGE agent. I know the number and I know the details. I don't speak without facts. And that's why God has never liked people like that. He tried to become a president of France, of Gabon. He banned the whole of parliament, the Supreme Court, killed 400 people. This guy detained 5 presidents in Bamako. While they were in Bamako, a coup took place. You remember the famous Wetangula tweet from Bamako. I'm reciting this history so that we form a background for Miriam to interrogate us. When these events were taking place, the French were telling the African Union not to allow the plane to land in Tripoli. The purpose of this was to make sure that they kill Gaddafi. Had the plane of the African heads of state landed in Tripoli, Gaddafi would have gone to exile, and perhaps there would not be bombardment, or there would be no destruction of Libya. We lost Gaddafi. We lost Libya. America said, that is the guy, that's the French agent who pretended to be the AU chairperson. I have been telling my African leaders that when will Africa rise to its occasion to become a well-known Pan-African organization? When will AU rise to the standards that can help Africa instead of helping foreign powers? The whole mistake of Libya today, which is haunting France, and I want to come to second phase of that, the looming battle. We recognize two governments. The first government recognized by the United Nations and AU, the one in Tripoli. Then Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, France, Russia, bypassed all of us. This is all the scramble for oil. How much oil you can drain illegally, store in your godowns in Paris. You remember the things that are taking place now. Oil is being stolen. Libyan oil is being taken away in tankers for free. From nowhere, America under Obama joined the charade of destroying, killing Libya, bombing it upside down. Anybody who would have gone, who had gone to Libya like I did several times, twice. Libya had medical facilities, educational facilities, training institutions. Libya helped the liberation of South Africa. But Jacob Zuma forgot and surrendered it to the slaughterhouse of imperialism. Cutting the story short, as they were doing that, I want us to look at how France came in. France comes in, tells the International Criminal Court to arrest Said Gaddafi, to arrest Gaddafi, to arrest all the children of Gaddafi, to arrest the chief intelligence officer of Gaddafi called Sassini. All Gaddafi's children were killed, except one. Why do you kill the child? If you want the father, they should have killed the father instead of killing the children. One of them survived. Then from nowhere, the American CIA, together with the French intelligence DSGE, and the Egyptian pretender, Assisi, mushroom the man called General Khalifa, Muhtar Khalifa, an American passport holder who holds an American passport. And guess what? We now have the elephant in the house. Few days ago, or few months ago, General Khalifa Haftar was given arms supported logistically by the American systems in the Mediterranean Sea. He bombed his way all the way from Benghazi, the west, towards Tripoli. He strangulated militarily, military strangulation. I think Bijou knows that. A military strangulation that destroyed all the essential services for the capital city of Tripoli. Thereafter, after support logistically, the United Nations backed government fought back, retaking the entire swath of land between Tripoli, going west, going east towards the Egyptian border. It is dead bodies lied on the ground. People perished. Africans were killed. Some of you, when I talk, they think I'm talking, I'm happy. I am not. The terrorists that took over Libya started slaughtering Africans. We who came from the south, we who were running towards Mediterranean Sea looking for green pastures, were cut. ISIS entered Libya through Muhtar, General Muhtar Khalifa Muhtar. Egyptian-backed, French-backed, American-backed. Time has come. Time has come for the truth to be told. When you look at those dead bodies of Africans being cut, their necks chopped by ISIS, then you remember the words of Gaddafi when he told you that you are killing me, but those who will come to take over this country called Libya are the terrorists. I am not the terrorist. I want to thank the audience. And right now, those are my keywords. I have more material, heavy material on Libya, including my letter that I predicted that one day, 2 letters, one to Museveni, which can be got, is on record. And I believe Miriam has got some of them. Thank you, and the rest. Now, I want to shock you as I hand over to Miriam. Guess what? The French are crying tears. Crocodile, crocodile. Woo, woo, woo. Crocodile tears that the Ottoman Empire, Turkey is making it difficult for peace. Which peace are you talking about? Where is the peace? After dismembering the country, after stealing all the oil, look at the Africans who are flying, who were held in Libya, whose arms were cut by ISIS. What the hell? What a way to kill a country. Why didn't we just kill one man instead of killing so many people? Why did we destroy Libya? Why? France is crying foul. Miriam is not a good person. Who is a good person who does not listen to a bad person called Assisi. There are people that Miriam has never given confidence in Africa. One of them is General Assisi. As a chairman of African Union, he spearheaded the bombardment of Libya. Now he has threatened to enter Libya. So any Security Council expert, President Uhuru Kenyatta is sitting on that Security Council. Mzee, let's work the Wakamoto. Miriam, back to you.
All right, thank you, Dr. David Matanga there for that introduction. No, as we all know, of course, the international players and some countries have been mentioned very widely in terms of their hand in fueling that war there in Egypt. In Libya, we've seen a lot of proxy wars being exported into Libya there, and we shall look at some of those countries and their interest in that country and their contribution towards the chaos that has culminated there in Libya. And of course, the latest in regards to what now Egypt wants and is being backed by a couple of countries. So we shall look at all that and see which way forward, even as the final battle there looms for Libya. So now we know the oil-rich Libya has been in chaos since the Arab Spring movement and NATO bombing campaign that toppled Gaddafi in 2011. Attempts to build a democratic state after Gaddafi fell and disintegrated into a new civil war between rival governments in 2014. Armed groups, including extremists such as Islamic State have proliferated, and the lawless country has also become a principal transit point for people from across Africa who want to reach Europe. And when Doctor was speaking, production was playing those images there Mediterranean has become the death point of a lot of young Africans from the rest of the African countries who are also facing very difficult conditions and are trying to access Europe, and it has become very important. And I see one of our viewers there, Kamau Peter, you're wondering, why are we talking about Libya? Because it is an Arab country. First of all, Libya is in Africa. Second of all, what is happening in Libya and the insecurity in Libya is impacting on a lot of other African countries here. So we have to speak. And if you don't know, this is a Pan-African television station. So we have a responsibility to talk about all these issues inside Africa. As long as you are a member state of the African Union and you're in this continent, we shall talk about you in that country. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining us this morning there, Peter Asilaza. I see he's been complaining why we're talking about Libya, and Libya is an Arab country. So with all that, Doctor, and also retired Major General there, Mbinjiwe, we've known and we've heard, and there are credible information about the international players that have helped in fueling the war in Libya. Are we about to see the end of this war, or now will it take another turn as it has been happening in the course of since 2011? We don't have him. I think he's working to join us. But maybe, Doctor, you'll take that, and then we shall go to Daniel.
Thank you very much, Miriam. First of all, I think it is very naive for an African or any person in the world to tell us what we should discuss and not discuss. Instead of him contributing, we are not discussing anything which is outside the planet Earth. We are discussing Libya as a country in Africa. So, Mr. Peter, yes, we are entitled to discuss any country, and we are entitled to our opinion. But you don't come to our platform and start calling us stupid and so many other things. For now, just bring in your suggestions instead of calling us stupid. Because if we want to start calling you, you won't like it. So listen and give us suggestions. The same power that killed Libya is the same power that is killing DRC Congo, that is killing Cameroon, that is killing Biafra, that is killing Amazonia. It's the same power called France. So if you don't have the brains and then you say we are discussing Libya, Libya is part of African Union. Libya is an AU nation. Libya has paid a full paid up member, unlike your country where you come from, which is fidgeting with payments. So we have to talk about Libya. That one, I want to put you where you belong. We are not exchanging words. We thank you for calling us stupid, and we shall move on. 2 million. When you look at the situation of what is happening in Libya at the moment, Kenya is on the United Nations Security Council. And it is that basis that regional peace, regional arrangement, threat to peace under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Security Council needs to be interrogated. What can we do to bring peace in Libya? What are the warring parties saying? Why have we recognized 2 governments? The African Union has recognized 2 governments. It looks like one section of the African Union, headed by Egypt, who prefer General Khalifa Haftar to take over than the one in Tripoli. Now, Italy, Britain, to some extent, some other countries and the AU supported the government in Tripoli. So this is something which is crucial. It touches us. Mr. Comwin says, how many Gambians? I don't know where he comes from. I wish he told us, and we can tell you. The people who are in Libya, who are from Nigeria, they are from Nigeria, they are from Gambia, they are from Burkina Faso, they are from Eritrea, they are from Sudan, some are from Somalia. They are all running away to go to Europe. And they are being cut to pieces, being used as slaves, being sold as worker slaves in Libya. It affects us. It's a regional human trafficking. It affects us. Therefore, our discussion is in order. How can we achieve peace? Peace cannot be achieved when two countries have now come. Turkey is supporting the government in Tripoli. Egypt is threatening to send in troops across the desert if the government of national unity troops capture Sirte. You remember Sirte is the home of Gaddafi.
Yeah, Sirte.
Where there is plenty of oil on the coastal town of Mediterranean Sea. So Egypt is saying, if you touch that, you have crossed the Rubicon. Egypt is claiming it has to safeguard its western border with Libya. Libya is saying there is no interference in our eastern border. We are okay. So it is a looming war. That's why we brought it for discussion this morning. Miriam.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel, and we shall come to that and see the role of Egypt and that latest, threat there by President Al-Sisi there of Egypt, and of course what he did when he was the chairperson of African Union there, and the way he took sides, which I think became very counterproductive in finding a lasting peace there for Libya. So we shall look at that. But Daniel, just from what you hear, what Doctor is saying, and of course a lot of these international players that are supporting the either side of the government of national accord that is United Nations recognized, and also that other government that has other support, and we shall see as we continue this conversation. Are we about to see the end of the war there in Libya?
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And first of all, let me start by registering my regrets. And it's quite unfortunate that Libya, an economy that was once flourishing and booming and was a hope of Africa, is now a shell of its former glory, and everything there seems to have been brought down in rumbles, and there's nothing that is left to take credit about. And of course, nearly 400,000 Libyans have been displaced over the past 9 years or a decade or so, and that is around half of them since Tripoli offensive began. And 1,000 more have died. There have been a lot of bloodshed in Libya, and the situation there has been chaotic. And of course, being a country that is rich in oil, the conflict has cost the country tens of billions of dollars in revenue, and caused extensive damage on infrastructure and homes. Of course, we've been having destruction of buildings and other infrastructure, roads and everything. So this brings us back to the question of what was the intention of these foreign powers in taking their hand in the removal of Muammar Gaddafi, because this has weakened the economy of the country. It has taken the country into chaos, and as it is right now, perhaps there's a bleak possibility that the two warring factions gonna have some truce in the coming days, because previously we've had talks being brokered by the UN and other parties that have been holding talks to ensure that Libya goes back to stability. But whatever has been happening is that whenever there is a silence of guns, both factions have been using that to regroup and also to rearm themselves in order to prepare for future engagements. So that is something which is quite unfortunate, and I think it's heightened the AU and other regional bodies that have the mandate of bringing peace in the region. Stepped up the negotiation, of course, with the help of the UN and all the other international stakeholders to ensure that peace is brought about in Libya.
All right, thank you so much. But when you see all these players there in Libya, you wonder, is the intention really there to bring peace in Libya? And that is questionable, even when you look at the latest development there. Now, over the last years, foreign powers have increasingly intervened in Libya's civil war to defend their own strategic and economic interest. The government of national accord is backed, of course, by the United Nations and Western countries, but its main allies are Turkey, Qatar and Italy on one side, and they're backing the government that is recognized by the United Nations. And the LNA, which is led by, Haftar, enjoys the support of Russia, Egypt, and UAE and Saudi Arabia, and to a lesser extent France. But it's not a lesser extent. I think France is really a heavy backer of Haftar, and Jordan. Now, the foreign parties have flooded Libya with weapons and drones, ignoring a UN arms embargo. Now, Russia has sent mercenaries, and Sudanese men have been recruited to fight alongside the LNA. Some of the members of Janjaweed. And in January, The Guardian reported that Turkey sent Syrian recruits along with its own soldiers to defend the Tripoli government. High-profile peace talks in Berlin this year did not result in any lasting peace. So when you see all these players, and a lot of them are members of the organization of, I think, Islamic outside of Russia, the rest of them, and France, the rest of them are members of the either Arab League or some of those. And then when you see how especially the Kenya and Somalia situation played out here, and you see some of these bodies coming in and trying to create even a wider wedge between us and Somalia, saying Kenya, you have to keep off Somalia's water because this is an Arab country, and so us as Arab League, we're coming in and we're supporting Somalia. So you see, this kind of thinking is what really has fueled the war in Libya and other Arabic countries, and we've seen them trying to import that kind of chaos in a lot of countries in Africa. We've seen they're increasingly making their presence there very loud, even meddling in matters that has nothing to do with that organization. I mean, are we yet to see not just Libya, but are we yet to see other chaos that perhaps these organizations up there that are supporting this chaos being imported and becoming very active here in the rest of the African countries if we are not very careful? Doctor?
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Mbijiwe is online. He's now online. I think the production team should pick him up. He's here online now. Good morning, Mr. Mbijiwe, Major.
Good morning once more. I apologize. When you're in Meru, you have to contend with two things, Mira and lack of network. And I am equal to the task. Mira and I'll deal with the network.
I wanted to bring it to the notes of Miriam that you are listening to what she's saying,
yes,
and the production team. So Miriam, when you put your questions, he's also online right now.
Okay, so maybe his open remark and perhaps his thoughts on international players there in the war in Libya before we then we can go further.
Yes, thank you. Major,
yes, sir.
Retired Major, you can make your opening remarks.
Thank you, sir. First, Dr. Matanga, I must say that I agree with you on your view on Libya. I mean, as we witnessed recently at the United Nations Security Council meeting and the voting that happened, among African nations to elect either Djibouti or Kenya, clearly there was demonstrated disunity among African nations. It's unlike the nations of Latin America that agreed on one of their own, or countries of Asia Minor that agreed on one of their own, or Europe. Europe didn't even vote. They said, pick one, and they picked, those nations. But Africa, we ended up, washing our linen in public. We embarrassed each other. We exposed our disunity. And there was no better time this disunity was displayed than in the fall of Colonel Gaddafi. Because Colonel Gaddafi had been a father of Africa. Colonel Gaddafi has invested in Africa. Even in Kenya, the hotel that they bought in downtown Grand Regency is Libyan owned now. I mean, this gentleman invested everywhere. He supported schools, he supported malls, he supported, the projects all across Africa. And then he came with a grand idea of starting an African currency, and that was what he was doing. And he had enough gold reserves to back up that currency. And even this gentleman, in his own country, when you finish university, even if you are trying to be a doctor, engineer, or anything, the government paid you salary equal to the training you have, so you could start your life. So much so that Libyans never went anywhere outside of Libya. You never meet a Libyan in Kenya or in Uganda or where, because they're comfortable in their own country. This gentleman built a river to the desert. He transported a whole river to the desert, with all the technology and protecting the river from evaporation, all the way to the desert. This gentleman was a father. He was a leader. He was a great man, and Africa didn't stand with him. We dreamed the dogs and he got wasted. It's very unfortunate what happened to Colonel Gaddafi.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, you want Miriam?
Okay. So, Doctor, and you mentioned this before, the latest development in this Libyan situation is that the Libyan UN recognized government and national accord has denounced Egypt's warning of military intervention in Libya, labeling it a declaration of war. Now, on Saturday, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi warned that if pro-GNA forces advanced on the strategic city of Sirte, some 450 kilometers east of the capital Tripoli, it could provoke a direct intervention by Cairo. He also ordered the Egyptian army to be ready to carry out missions inside and outside of the country to protect its national security. And tensions over Turkey's intervention in Libya. Obviously, since Turkey came in to help GNA, Mr. Khalifa Haftar has been losing grounds there in Libya. And so, and you've also mentioned that a press conference that President Al-Fattah al-Sisi had with Khalifa, that you would think these are two heads of state in an African country, which is contrary to anything that you've seen in the world. And so after losing ground, and so now Egypt is insisting now they have to talk with the government of national accord after Khalifa Haftar has lost ground. What is there any genuine will from especially Egypt now that is supporting Haftar to find a lasting peace, or to want to bring these two warring factions together, as Egypt has been alluding to want to do?
How do you bring peace when you are the one who is breaking peace? How will you bring peace? Just tell me.
I also got confused, Doctor. I got very confused with Egypt, me and you.
Yes. How does Egypt bring peace in a place where it has been given launching pad? The Egyptian army, the Egyptian Navy has been giving Khalifa Haftar arms, launch pad, to launch missiles against Tripoli, to use aircraft. Okay, if the aircrafts were bombing Tripoli, where were they going back to? Major Bichiwe is an Air Force man, retired. You must, when your jet fighter goes to bomb, does it land in air? Is there an aircraft, an airfield in air?
Of course not, Dr.
It has to land somewhere.
It has to land somewhere, and most of these frontline nations, like Egypt was a frontline nation in the battle against Gaddafi, and so even in the after you call it the brigade, that is commanded by General Haftar, Egypt is supported, is given grand logistical support for the landing of their fighter jets. In fact, some of those fighter jets have been flown by Egyptians themselves. So that people know that Egypt is an aggressor of the Libyan issue, and Egypt has benefited. The fall of Libya has hugely benefited Egypt, and so Egypt is not going to stand there and watch Libya become a nation once more.
And then, when you look at the people who want to create peace, for the first time, Russia seemed to have lost it out because of the greed for oil. But Russia did not stop Turkey, because Russia knows if it stops Turkey from entering Libya, guess what is going to happen? Back in Syria, you remember Russia and Turkey have come to an agreement after they wiped out ISIS. We would like the students watching this program of international relations, because there are very many of them who are not studying in the universities. They pick some of the notes. We want to see why there is permanent interest, not permanent international relations. Russia watches Turkey going into Libya without any problem. But it decides to pull out, after realizing that General Khalifa Haftar is an American passport holder. Yes, Khalifa Haftar is an American passport holder.
Yes, he's an American citizen.
He's not a Libyan. General Khalifa Haftar is like a Faramijo. There's no difference between a Faramijo.
He denounced his other.
Oh, denounced who? Have you seen it in council?
Actually, it is Farmajo is president by mistake. He should not have been allowed to run for president.
Yes. When Faramijo tells you he has cancelled his passport, did you see the council? It has only been kept in the state, in the Pentagon, and the State Department, for him to go to United States after he has finished handing over the oil fields in the Indian Ocean to the company in Texas. How long do you take to listen to this? A company that is making us fight in the Indian Ocean is the owner of the oil, not even the British company. Wow. It bought all those oil blocks. It's an American company. I will give you the name offline because they are mercenaries. They can kill. The company that is making Kenya and Somalia fight over the Indian Ocean blocks is an American company. You don't argue with me over it because I have been with it. I followed the case at the ICJ and I came to the conclusion and I found facts. As next year, as COVID is over, I swear I am going to catch some people. There are some people I have to put in court on that question of Somalia. So let's return to Libya.
Yes, and just that question, Doctor, if you can ask, I know Dan and you're listening, perhaps you could respond to this. Egypt has been one of the countries that has been supporting the rebel leader there, Khalifa Haftar. So after seemingly his defeat there in the places that he was holding, including Sirte, which we shall look at the importance of this place and what that means to the government of national accord. And now Egypt is coming up and saying, hey, the government of national unity, come to the table now. Khalifa Haftar wants to talk, and Egypt now purports there to take the mediator role. While we know so well that it has been supporting the side that has been opposing the legitimate government there in Libya. Is Egypt really genuine in its role now that it's taking care of mediating and trying to bring the warring factions together when it is an active participant in the chaos in Libya?
Thank you, Miriam. And okay, as far as we look at the current fighting partly as an outcome of exclusionary politics, economic corruption, and unsolved social fractures stemming back after the aftermath of the 2011 revolutions, of course, we have to agree that on one thing, that Khalifa Haftar is a stooge of either Egyptian government or under other interested Western powers, because when you look at it critically, the blame falls flatly on his feet, because on top of this, there's been a mix of indifference, interference by international and regional states brought by Libya, which has left the country at this point. But the ultimate blame of this war rests on the shoulders of General Khalifa Haftar, and this is due to his April 14th assault on the capital and of course, that was on the internationally recognized government. So from my perspective, I think Khalifa Haftar is someone who's being used to raise the rubble on the Libyan government and try to cause chaos so that Libya does not stand. And as retired Major Bijia said, when Libya raises from its troubles and becomes successful, that's it becomes an economic threat to Egypt, and that's why perhaps Egypt might not want a stable Libyan government to come into place, because right now, as it is now, Egypt has taken the position that formerly belonged to Libya as maybe as the regional economic hub. So that is my point of view. I think Egypt is not genuine in its stand on Khalifa Haftar and the international recognized government, and it has a very, very big interest in the wrangles that are ongoing right now in Libya.
Dr. Egypt seems to be drumming the drums of war there in Libya and is spoiling for a confrontation with the government of national accord there in Libya, from what we've been getting and the sentiments that Egypt has been putting forth.
Yes, and maybe before Dr. comes in, I think it's very unfortunate that even the president of Egypt had to give General Haftar such a welcome in what could be perceived as someone who is an equal head of state when he's not. And I think that is a step just to fuel the notion out there that perhaps the government that is in power right now in Libya is not the legitimate government. And that one goes down, it boils down to fueling a lot of wrangles amongst the Libyan people and just worsening the situation back at home. So I think Egypt, as a neighbor and a long-term neighbor of Libya and also a colleague in the Arab League, should really consider mending its policies in terms of helping Libya come back on its feet and be able to talk about the regional prosperity. Because you understand that Libya is in chaos, and we have a lot of foreign powers who are bringing their proxy wars on the soil of Libya. And this is because Libya has a scarce, a very important resource, which is oil. And this is why everyone wants their foot on the Libyan soil. So if Egypt could look at the bigger picture and be able to assist Libya gain its stability, then it could work for the betterment of the entire region. So that would be my perspective, Miriam. Maybe just to add on that.
Thank you so much there, Daniel. So, Doctor, if you can pass it to the question to retired Major General there, Bijiwe. Egypt.
It's hearing you.
Yes, Egypt seems to be drumming the drums of war there in Libya, and it appears that it is spoiling for a war there. Am I wrong in my judgment? Judging from the Egyptian president said there on Saturday, can a retired major could respond to that?
You have heard the question, Major?
No, sir. Can you repeat it?
He can hear me, yes.
He's so far.
Miriam is saying you seem to have, Egypt seem to be
spoiling for a war. Yes, drumming for war, yes, there.
For a war under which they yesterday said they are going to cross over their army to go and occupy the western part. Oh, there you are now, he comes live on this other system. That he come. They occupy the western part of Libya. What is your view on that?
For sure. If Egypt feels that they need to secure their western border, most likely they may be deciding to go out there and fight it out or defend, the uncontrolled rebels of Libya. Because again, it's not only Haftar, but most other splinter groups have come up in Libya that have decided to fight out for Libya, or rather to fight out for the soul of Libya. So the Egyptians may be deciding that these guys are endangering their security, so they may go out there and fight with them. I think that's why they are beating the drums of war. It may be a territorial issue, but I think it doesn't care.
Wesonga talked about for me, Miriam, I had Wesonga talk about the European, the Arab League. Which Arab League? The Arab League is led by Saudi Arabia. It's one of the biggest funders of Arab League. But Saudi Arabia is in cohort with Egypt. They are the people mutilating Libya, UAE, Saudi Arabia. If you come to the conflict of Yemen, if you look at what is happening at Yemen, UAE has turned on Saudi Arabia in Yemen down and taken over the island of Socotra. We are in chaos. You see, Africans must be very careful about these guys. You know, they have got money. The Gulf states have money. Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. They have plenty of money in their banks that they have nothing to do with it. They have built an empire in Doha, in Dubai. Miriam, someone might be asking, what is Qatar looking for? What is United Arab Emirates looking for? They have the money. But why are they looking for us to kill us? In Somalia, they are sponsoring the Somali government to disagree with the Kenya government. In Libya, United Arab Emirates is looking for a war such that it fights alongside Egypt to stop the government of national unity taking food. They have plenty of money. United States of America has come out to support fully. It supports, guess what country? Qatar. France supports Qatar. Now, if you're a member of the Security Council, a problem is brought before you, and you are an African member of the Security Council, which Kenya is now a member. Can they tell me today how Kenya will handle this issue without it coming back? Given that yesterday, the United Nations Security Council, Miriam, you know, for me, I speak with facts. Imeanguka hapa. If you think Matanga is not right, let me shock you. Yesterday, the United Nations Security Council decided under resolution 2527 of 2020, the 15-member council decided to extend the mandate of UNISOM would continue to set out a paragraph 1 of the resolution 2158 in Somalia. The assistance to Somalia from up to August 31st. Surely, these are 2 months. These are 2 months. How can the Security Council extend for 2 months the support? What do they have in mind? What is going to happen about Somalia? What is it that is going to happen? It is the same game played up there. France is coming out to condemn Turkey, but France is a member of the Security Council.
It is.
France recognized the government. Does it recognize the government in Tripoli or not?
It has been backing Haftar, and they are credible.
So it has backed Haftar. with Americans. Now they are running to recognize the government across the bridge where there is no sorrow. Now, tell me, all of us Africans, we are watching these countries, we are watching this war. Media, believe me or not, I don't think there is genuine peace. I don't think there are people determined to bring peaceful end to the Libyan crisis. Yesterday, the ICC found graves. The United Nations Human Rights OCHA,
Yes.
Human Rights Organization,
In Tahuna
found
City.
mass graves, massive graves that had been actually used by General Khalifa Haftar. So we want to ask,
So
what
ICC,
are they doing
yes.
about these massive graves?
And ICC has said it will open investigation, and prosecutor there, Fatou Bensouda, made it very clear that investigations on this matter will be opened by the ICC. And so there we go. But let's see how that will end. So, Doctor, in regards to the Arab League that you've mentioned, and also Daniel has mentioned there, Libya's UN-recognized government said it will boycott talks on the conflict in the North African country to be held by Arab League foreign ministers. Foreign Minister Mohamed Taher Siala told the bloc's executive council last week that the planned meeting would merely deepen the rift between Arab governments on the conflict, because this meeting was called by Egypt. And Egypt now has become the player that has continued, I think now it's very apparent, to continue fueling and continue making sure that this war does not see its end. No wonder when Al-Sisi was the chairperson of African Union, I think his sole purpose when he was the chairperson of African Union was to use his position to ensure that he defeats the government of national accord, because we didn't see even an attempt to make to try to bring a solution to the problem there in Libya. So now Egypt, through the Arab League, calls a meeting, and Libyan government, the recognized government there, says no. We cannot come there because this will not help anything. It will just continue to deepen this crisis. So other countries, especially in the Arab League, are realizing that this organization might just be used as a stamp to legitimize some of the things that are not okay. And perhaps they're feeling this organization is not helping the member states at all. When you look at the number of member states that are involved in a lot of chaos there in the Arab League.
The Arab League failed to be a league. It has never been a league. I don't know how you people take of a league. What is a league? A league is somewhere where you have values, the same. When Muammar Gaddafi was crying for help from these external forces, the Arab League did not come to help. They were split in the middle. Remember, Muammar Gaddafi is the one who helped United Arab Emirates. They didn't have even money to bring fuel, to dig out fuel. Muammar Gaddafi helped them. But when Muammar Gaddafi cried for help, they killed him. They played a part. Now, when you discover this type of graves in Europe, in Libya, where do you take? Whom do you take? How will you take without annoying France? If the graves were found, why don't we arrest Khalifa Haftar first, who was the commander where these graves were found? They have not been found in Tripoli. They are on the route from Egypt all the way up to those places where Khalifa passed. He buried the people. He buried the civilians. Nobody is talking. The only focus here is to continue the conflict, Miriam. And I want to put it to the panel that this conflict, the more it continues, the more oil illegally is taken to Paris. There are tankers, and the tankers that are carrying illicit oil, unmarked tankers, unmarked huge oil reserves are now being taken out. So why does France want to arrange? Why does Egypt? Because they haven't taken enough oil. They want to take more. While we are confused in this run up and down, I like what Owiti, the vice provost of the Kakani University, has written in the Star newspaper today, page 31. And Dr. Owiti, I stand by you. The United Nations Security Council needs reform. Until we are equal partners in the Security Council, Africa will never be peaceful. That's my first mission.
I agree, Dr. Matanga, and I quickly want to suggest that the discovery of mass graves in Libya points to crimes against humanity that have been committed by the warring factions. And if, as you said, these graves are in the regions controlled by General Ali Haftar, and it means General Ali Haftar and his people and his troops have committed crimes against humanity, genocide. And Ali Haftar is not to be handled with diplomatic gloves. We need to issue arrest warrant. I dare the International Criminal Court, ICC, to issue an arrest warrant against him, against his commanders, and let that tag of an arrest warrant hang on his head, whether he will be arrested or he will never be arrested. We hung one tag on Kapuka's head, and recently he got arrested. We hung one on the head of General Bashir, and one of these days, General Bashir is going to answer to international crime. The same has happened to other leaders. The leader of Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, when they were out there and leading terrible genocide against people, thought he would never be arrested. He was arrested when he was about 80-something years old. And Khmer Rouge and the fighters, the gentleman, because they had serious command and control of that region at the time. So we need to stake out authority over these crimes, because we cannot have African warlords decide that now it's time to wipe out my opposers, my people opposing me, and then burying them in mass graves in this season, in this generation. That we are more uncooked, we are more behind than even our forefathers. And as international law has progressed, holding people accountable for their actions has also improved. We have international instruments that are now usable to convict these people of their crimes. So why would we sit and watch Haftar commit crimes against Libyans? I think Libyans have suffered enough, and I ask France to pull their hands off Libya. Dr. Matanga, don't forget that after the fall of Gaddafi and after the bombing, the aerial bombing by the NATO forces, then we had an announcement that NATO was going to return all the money that Gaddafi had banked in NATO nations, except they will deduct the cost of all the bombs they used to bomb Libya. So that's where we are, friends.
Yes, and maybe just to come in, Miriam, I think Dr. Matsanga has raised a very important point there. Khalifa Haftar has been long playing quite skillfully on competing foreign agendas in Libya, and of course he has drawn a perception of going after terrorists. But when you look at what Dr. Matsanga just mentioned of the massive graves that have been discovered along the path that his troops have been following, then he is no better than the terrorists that he has been pursuing. And of course, on this line of treachery, he has drawn to his promise to crush political Islamists. UAE and Egypt have sent weapons, advisors, and money and conducted the airstrike on his behalf, according to the US investigators. And France also has been swept into this Mali and has been crucial as well when you look at it. So despite the diplomatic recognition of his rival GNA, the government of Libya, Paris has also provided Khalifa Haftar with battlefield intelligence support. So this is one of the issues that really deepens these conflicts, when you find that these foreign powers also are being duped by Khalifa Haftar into believing that he's pursuing some common agenda with them, when in contrary, he is doing the same atrocities that he is accusing his opponents of doing. So it's very quite unfortunate there.
All right, thank you so much. So we look at France and Italy factor in this war in Libya, and then quickly we shall move to the African Union and its role in Libya. And right now, of course, it has taken over the talks there in Libya. With that left for African Union, can we really see the end of this atrocity of this war in Libya? But first, let's look at the France and Italy factors here in Libya. And France and Italy wrangled last year in April over how best to tackle renewed conflict in Libya as a bid by Eastern forces under Khalifa Haftar to seize Tripoli stalled in the face of strong resistance on the capital's southern outskirts. Now, in Rome, Libya's former colonial ruler Italy warned France, which has good relations with Haftar, to refrain from supporting any one faction after diplomats, and said Paris had scuttled a European Union statement calling on him to halt his offensive. France, which has oil assets in eastern Libya, has provided military assistance in past years to Haftar in the eastern stronghold Libyan, and French officials have confirmed that. Now, it was also a leading player in the war to unseat Gaddafi, that is France, and Italy supports the UN-backed government of Siraj. So we see they are supporting the different sides there. So last year we saw a back and forth, wordings there between the two the two deputy prime ministers from Italy, and they were castigating the role of France there in Egypt, but in Libya. But you see, they both have interest there in Libya, because also Libya being a former colonial place of Italy there. Italy feels it has a role to play there, but also it has a lot of interest because it gets a lot of its oil, from Libya. So it's very complicated. So when you see these two players there, or these international players there, they're really looking after their own interests, Doctor. They don't care really much about a Libyan there who's hoping for a day when the country will know peace again.
You have hit the point. That's the exactly what is happening. It is upon us Africans, and upon Africa itself alone, and Africa alone, that we can sit down and review which direction we are going. If we want this Africa to remain united, then we must single out the biggest threat that is coming to destroy our unity. What is the most single threat? The single threat that is killing Africa is France. Is there any other person who is dividing us? If you come to Cameroon, it's France. If you come to DRC Congo, it's France. If you come to Central African Republic, it's France. If you come to Mali, it is France. If you come to Khartoum, South Sudan, it's France. They have now come back because their leaders, they wanted to come in power. They are now talking about the oil. It's France. So until we in Africa and the African Union identifies the main cause of this unity, all this what we have been talking here for 2 hours will just go in the drain. There is nothing that we are going to change. Libya is going to burn. The Mediterranean Sea will continue to have the worst dead bodies of Africans crossing over, and soon piracy will come in the Mediterranean Sea. That the whole mighty powers of Britain, France, America, and others who want to trade in the Mediterranean Sea will have to bring their fleet in order to escort those big ships that pass through the Suez Canal to the Gulf of Persia, and then Indian Ocean. We have a problem there, that the earlier we make it work as a nation, the better for the people of Africa. 2, Miriam, we don't need to go further on this Libyan issue. It's a straightforward thing. We have recognized the government. We have one government of one unit, national unity. Why have we recognized a rebel? Again, the question goes to African Union. Why did it recognize, and then it recognized, then it allowed you as a rebel leader in East Africa, you try to form a rebel group now in anywhere here. They will first put up your name to the whole international police to arrest you. Why hasn't AU called for Haftar to be arrested? Hey. You just go to Malawi. Malawi is going through elections today. It is not an election, it's a bloodbath. But what if you don't agree with the elections? Form a rebel group. Now, when you form a rebel group, the first thing the Malawi government will do is to call on Interpol, wherever they see you, to arrest you. Why haven't we arrested Mr. Khalifa Haftar? Back to you.
All right. Yes.
I think General Khalifa Haftar, first of all, came in with the backing of very powerful individuals, and let me say nations. He had their support. They gave money, they gave weapons. Man, this guy had fighter jets. He dropped bombs from the air. You ever had bombs that had fighter jets? If Al-Shabaab managed to say God's fighter jets, we will definitely have to remove from Somalia. You don't have to kill with fighter jets like that. He was such a force. He was swallowing up every ground that came up against. And so he was not alone in the sphere of international war. You cannot win a battle anywhere without the backing of powerful militarily strong nations. And I am sure CIA was behind this. I'm sure, of course, why CIA was behind this is because Egypt is behind it. And Egypt is the little child of America. That's the side of the world. In whatever America says, Egypt will agree, and whatever it suggests, America will consider. So when America had to Egypt that they needed support, after they supported him. And unfortunately, this same Haftar was not required to play by international laws of war, because there's the Geneva Convention, there are laws that govern conventional warfare. It was basically more of a guerrilla war. It was coordinated. It was coordinated, but it was unaccountable. It was not anything that could be held accountable to. And that rogueness, that level of rogueness, is dangerous for the international community. In the international system, we cannot allow it. as much as we say that one characteristic of the international system is impunity, and no one is there to hold anyone accountable. But I think the International Criminal Court, if they want to be, worthy of them, to be worthy of assault, then they have to go out there and issue an arrest warrant against General Haftar. And while anarchy prevail in the international system, we must be able to hold General Haftar accountable for his actions. And then every nation that has supported General Haftar, we must find out the weapons he uses, where do they come from, who supplied them, which companies made these weapons. We must be able to create that level of international accountability. Otherwise, warlords will emerge in nations, take a little support and money, use weapons and dislodge communities, kill hundreds of people, and that cannot be allowed in our world today. That is my time.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much there, Retired Major General Bijiwe. Doctor, we cannot complete this conversation without looking at African Union and the role it has played, or lack thereof, in Libya. And when the crisis in Libya began, it was hoped that the African Union will be the one to deal with it under its cherished notion of African solutions to African problems. However, from the very beginning, the organization took half-hearted measures in its reaction. And now the Libyan crisis demonstrated beyond rhetoric that the AU does not have the capacity to respond effectively to the crisis facing Africa. Dr. AU does not have the capacity.
Why can't this production team, Stephen, bring one of the reports, one of the first intelligence reports that I tabled on AU? It is there in Pan-African Forum. Which African Union, Miriam, are you talking about? This one at AU in Addis Ababa? I think we have a problem here. We sent intelligence officers to Addis Ababa. I want to tell you a very serious story. We created an African intelligence network in Addis Ababa. Each country in the region sent officers to Addis Ababa to represent us in that network in Addis Ababa. But I want to tell you what happened to that network. That network was used by France to gather information from various countries that they wanted to regime change. It was the setting of the African Intelligence Group in Addis Ababa was very good. It was a noble thing. But people did not know that the intelligence was being gathered by France. They kept on giving information, not knowing they were surrendering information to the French intelligence system. They discovered later on that France had already penetrated the areas of AU. When things started being bad, is when some of them said, this intelligence network is not working. Any intelligence officer in Addis Ababa will tell you there is something which is not very correct. As we speak today, how do you expect a country, the headquarters of AU, voting against the resolution of AU? I have never seen it. I've never seen Emperor Haile Selassie, who said that it be in Addis Ababa. If he wakes up to hear that Ethiopia voted against Kenya in the United Nations Security Council, when they had agreed all of them, then you would know we have trouble here. Another thing that is on which is making Khalifa Haftar stronger and Egypt stronger. You know what? It's the Inga Dam. The dam. The UN is trying to we have tried. If you don't work with Egypt or Ethiopia, or you show any sign that you are supporting Ethiopia, one of the countries will hate you. So Kenya stands at those crossroads. But in final analysis, the AU is not there. The AU is there in writing, but not in practical situation. Right. I want us to end on that note for me.
Yes, and I want the rest to also respond to the same question so that we can end on that note. Retired Major, has AU failed Libyans?
Retired Major, has AU failed Africans?
Absolutely. I think AU needs to be reignited. The passion and the vision for Africa has died. The leaders of Africa that gave birth to AU, of course, many are long dead. They were the fathers of this continent. But now,
if you can speak louder because we don't hear you.
Okay, sorry. I'm saying the current leadership we have in Africa is a selfish, egocentric, corrupt leadership in most countries in Africa. And they are spending their years looking for how to loot from this continent to their private they are not minding about this continent. And this is a disaster we have in the AU. As a result, they don't even have a common goal and vision as the AU. So much so that when Somalia needed help by the AU, all the AU nations said they're going to send in troops to Somalia. But no sooner did they say that they quickly rescinded the word. And so Somalia ended up with troops from just, a couple of nations, Kenya, Uganda, Burundi, Sierra Leone, Ethiopia. Just a few countries in Africa live to their word. The other nations in Africa, even Nigeria, the legendary African mother nation, did not send troops to Somalia. And so Somalia is still in trouble because AU will never put their mouth where their money is or their money where their mouth is. So I think AU may have served its purpose. It's time to reinvent it or break it completely. We say that we have a better focused AU, or we destroy the current AU completely and create a new one. But as it were, I think AU beats its purpose. You would not understand why AU would recognize, General Haftar, and then when DJ Rajolina takes over government through military coup in Madagascar, doesn't recognize it. What's the difference, And
right.
so AU needs to speak coherently and to speak uniformly with homogeneity across the continent.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much there, Retired General Mwenda Binjiwe. Daniel, your final take. AU forever has cherished this notion of Africa solutions to African problems. Have they lived up to this, or they just failed miserably on this notion when it comes to Libya?
Yes, I think, Miriam, Libya is a typical case study of a failed AU. And of course, this silence of African Union, whilst Libya is undergoing a lot of turmoil and a lot of Libyans are in conflict, it's a very risky gambit. And I think it only portrays the AU as a failed body that has laid down not only Libya, but the entire Africa, because Major Retired Mijio has talked about the situation, the question of Somalia. And of course, we have had so many other cases. The list is endless. And that shows the ineptitude and the kind of negligence that the African Union has been engaged into. And of course, when you look at the situation in Libya, there is no signs that the conflict is becoming, there are more signs that the conflict is becoming more intractable. And of course, the fighting could expand geographically. And if they continue on the path of keeping silent, while Libya is burning and a lot of people are losing their lives, their property, and the nation is sinking into the state of anarchy, then of course that is something that will only work for the benefit of Haftar and all his allies who are for the destruction of Libya, and it will embolden them in a much bigger way. So it's high time the AU stood up and rose up to the occasion to try and bring peace to Libya.
All right, Daniel Wesonga, retired Major Mwenda Mejiwe, and Dr. David Matanga, thank you so much for making the show what it has been today. This has been a Frontline Security. We shall be back next week. My name is Miriam Mobutu. A very good afternoon to you.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
I want to begin by first and foremost thanking the African Union and all the African nations for their support and their belief in Kenya being able to advocate the African cause, the cause of Pan-Africanism, the cause of peace, the cause of global solidarity, the call to multilateralism. Kenya's story is one that believes and trusts that together we are stronger. One that believes that through democracy, through respect for human life, and through unity, more can be achieved than individually. We thank the African continent for supporting us in our bid. And we thank all our friends across the world who have joined us and supported us. Today is a day for me personally, on my own behalf and on behalf of the government and the people of Kenya, to assure you that a vote for Kenya is a vote for peace. A vote for Kenya is a vote for global solidarity. A vote for Kenya is a vote for multilateralism. A vote for Kenya is that even the smallest voice shall be heard as the largest and most powerful voice. Let's work together. Let's build global harmony. Let's move forward in our march for peace. Let's move forward in our march for the sustainable use of the resources that our continent, our globe is endowed with. And let's move forward and ensure that no one is left behind.